Hey everyone, it's Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, and I'm about to go live on Instagram too in just a second. Great. So this is Maureen Taylor, the photo detective. This is my end of the month live that I do. I'm on 3 platforms right now: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can send me messages on all 3 platforms, and I'm really excited about today's special topic that we're going to talk about. Usually this is a Q&A, so if you have questions, please put it in the chat and respond to me. I'm on Instagram and all that. So today we are talking about postcards. So I did a themed month back in February, and the theme was tintypes. And it was pretty popular, and we all learned a whole bunch about tintypes that we didn't know, and I talked to modern day tintype photographers. But this time I thought, here it is, August, it's vacation, either you're traveling or you wish you were traveling. So I thought, well, why not postcards? Because I used to send postcards to people and all of that. So anyway, we focused on postcards in the podcast. 3 episodes just focused on podcasts, on postcards. And we asked people to send me postcards, which was great because you listened. I have a ton to share. I have some that are just online, which unfortunately on Instagram, you're not going to be able to see, but you'll have to go to my Facebook page to see them in the album. So hello, everyone. The 4th episode of August was vintage aerial photographs. If you have not listened to it or looked at their website and you have people who live in your family tree that lived on farms, then you really, really need to go look at vintage aerials to see if you can identify any of the photographs that they have that are unidentified, or the 18 million photographs that they have on their website might actually depict something in your family. It's an amazing collection. They're adding stuff all the time. It's cool. But let's jump right into the postcards. My goodness, where should I start? So many. Let's start with, I'll show them and tell you what they are. Plus, I went through my own postcard collection for Providence, Rhode Island to see if I had any interesting ones. And one of my guests said that our ancestors used to use postcards to communicate during the day because they had multiple mail deliveries, which it's hard to imagine, isn't it, today, that you're going to get multiple mail deliveries so that you can send someone a postcard in the morning and invite them to lunch. So I wanted to go through the postcards in my collection and see. So I went through a couple of hundred of them. Most of them didn't have any messages on the back. But one of them had an interesting one where it said, if you decide to send me corn, send it to the office. And I thought, well, it's not what we usually put on the back of a postcard, which is wish you were there or here with us. There is something I have learned about all of you listeners and readers of my newsletter. And if you're not on my newsletter list, you really ought to get on the list, because I'm going to start sharing some other stuff just to newsletter readers. I learned that many of you, like one of my podcast guests, started collecting postcards when you were a kid. And if you didn't start collecting them, your ancestors did as well. And so you're going to see some amazing stuff. But I guess I'll just go one by one and show them in 2 places. So this person sent me a modern day postcard by, they didn't know this, but it's one of my favorite photographers, Cartier-Bresson, and it's women sitting at a cafe. And this person, Clements, said that they grew up with postcards, and they mailed this one to me. So it was part of their collection. Somebody sent me a scenic Cape Cod, which I love. Wendy, thank you so much for this. It's all lighthouses, and this is what we think of as a traditional postcard. Someone sent me People have been sending me postcards that they collected when they went on vacation, but never mailed to anyone. So that's what this is. Lauren, thank you so much for this. I bought this postcard on one of my pilgrimages to Shakespeare's grave and home. And I have been there. I had friends that I visited in England when I went over there for Who Do You Think You Are Live? And we went to Shakespeare's house. And upstairs they have the guest book, and opened the guest book and found somebody from my last muster book had been the first person to sign it. And that would be Thomas Perkins. And I was like, I know who this is. So I wrote them a nice note, the curators, and I'm sure they thought I was just a crazy American. But anyway, thank you so much for this, Lauren. This person found a way, Russ found a way to print a postcard, an original historical postcard of their family. This is his great-grandfather as a young kid and his dad sitting next to him. A photo I'm actively researching. Location is Mohegan or Nasonville, Rhode Island. Hey, I've been to Nasonville in my pandemic hobby of visiting every village in the state of Rhode Island. My aunt said my great-great-grandfather could name everyone, but of course they don't have that info. They believe it's about 1910, and I sort of agree with that. But they did the front and the back, which is so cool. So you can print postcards, and I'll do some research and figure out how you can do that, and I'll put it in my newsletter, so get on the list. And you can print some out and send them to people. Here's another person, Julie Holmes Hahn. This is her great-grandparents on their wedding day in Mashka County, Iowa, and she's dressed to the nine, but he never even polished his boots. Isn't this fabulous? This is such a fabulous one. So this is, what'd she say, 1895, and that's perfect. Love it. So again, this is a very much thicker postcard that they printed out on. This is much thinner paper, so we'll have to figure that out. Somebody's, again, sent me old photographs. I'm a big fan of the Carnegie libraries that were built all over the country. And this is Mark Davis. Oh, May, Mark, how are you? Thank you so much for sending me. He said this library is still standing in Phoenix, Arizona. If I ever get to Phoenix again, I'd like to see it, Mark. I got mail from overseas. Ursula sent me a picture of, I can't read it, it's in German, but a little village in Germany. I'm not even going to try because I have no idea. And this is Bad Weissensalza. It was the first mentioned in the 9th century, and today it's known for its beautiful garden and roses. I did go to Germany once. We took a little cruise down the Rhine for the day and went to a wine festival, had a good time. We were visiting someone my husband knew there. This one left me speechless. So someone sent me, Betsy, you know who you are. You actually sent me an original circa 1935 postcard. This was actually a postcard in 1935, like actually a postcard. And it is what she sent me, the original, and it is the circa 1935 postcard. Shows her great-grandfather's property at 3 Lakes, Wisconsin, and he was a railroad conductor, Sylvester Graves. It remains in the family today, given many generations. So this is actually where they lived, and here's the back. Fantastic. Somebody did an oversized one. Anybody have any questions about postcards for me? Because I'd love to answer them. This is, somebody says, what a fun project. This is their grandmother with their great-grandparents in Wisconsin again, 1913 or so. So Molly, thank you so much for this. Isn't this great? Again, a modern day print of a historical postcard. So much fun. I think I'm gonna have to do a TikTok this afternoon with some of these postcards. Old Town Albuquerque. This is someone who's writing a book and she wanted to thank me. We got another lighthouse. Caitlin, thank you so much for this. This goes with that Cape Cod one that Wendy sent. So lighthouses are often on postcards. It is actually, some people wrote to me and said it was actually kind of hard to find postcards. And I guess if you don't live in a tourist location, it could be. Somebody sent me an advertisement for their game that they sell. Route 66, Marty. She's got a little van, almost like No Man's Land, although much nicer, and travels around the country in it. Brooklyn is the name of the van, and she's doing the Route 66 thing. So thank you so much for sending me this postcard from your trips on the road. What else? We got political postcards. She bought this back in 2011. So this was a 2011 political postcard that was printed in Oakland, California. And Terry sent this to me, which is great. Somebody sent me, Molly Brown, the unsinkable Molly Brown sent me a postcard, but I know who this is. So this is the Avenue Concept here in Providence, Rhode Island, which is where I live. And they do these, there are these blank walls throughout downtown where they rip down a lot of buildings and just put in parking lots. It's not my favorite thing to do for them to have done to downtown. But this was a mural that was up for a long time and they've just replaced it. So they printed postcards so that we could actually still have it. So the unsinkable Molly Brown, you know who you are, and I do too. So thank you for that, because it's one of my favorite murals. Some people took this as an opportunity to clean out their postcard collection. I don't know, many of you know Lou Zooks. She used to be with Ancestry.com, but we're birthday twins, and I've known her for decades. She sent me an assortment of cards that I can then mail out to people, which this is a modern day sort of poster of Chicago. Some art postcards. And then she sent me an actual linen postcard. These are quite lovely. These are, I think, from the 50s and 60s of a observation in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I have not seen that. So these are linen. They actually look like linen, and they have interesting colors on them. So that's from Lou. She sent me a whole bunch of them. That's what I got. Oh, goodness. Gail said this is a postcard that was actually sent to her grandfather. This was sent to her grandfather about 1911. It has a stamp. Ah, kid, you needn't send me such funny cards, for this one is funny enough. Yours truly, Mutt. So always read the back of the postcards. That's what my guests have told me, advised me to do. Of course, it's backwards on Instagram, but you can certainly watch this again on Facebook or on YouTube. Do follow me on YouTube. Oh, what else do I have? Oh, my goodness. Well, one of my guests was the Postcardist in episode 140, and this is his life. He gets like dozens of postcards every week that people send him. And I guess that one of his followers listened to my podcast of the Postcardist, and she wrote me this nice note and told me that she has all the images of her family from the mid-1800s on. And obviously, I think she might become a client at this point because she's really interested in that. But she made me a personal postcard. It's a collage. It's a one of a kind. And it's lovely. So Betsy, if you are listening, this is quite lovely. And thank you. If you're interested in the Postcardist, he has his own podcast, actually, episode 140. Truly amazing. The amount of work that must have gone into making that collage. Art postcards, very popular. So they fall into categories. I have notebooks full of postcards from Providence, Rhode Island. And there's another art one. We got here, this is an advertising postcard. And someone sent this to me. It is a postcard that was at the Columbia River Maritime Museum in Astoria, Oregon. This is an advertising postcard for a business that was in the area. Here we go, just in case I forget. And it was the first Western post office was in Astoria. So that's actually kind of nice. So I've got this to represent the first Western post office. A couple of years ago, my husband, now it's been a couple of years. I always wish I'd gone a different, gone back sooner. My husband and I went to Newfoundland, Canada, and fell in love with it. We were planning to go back in April of 2020, and that obviously never happened. But we've started watching some show on Acorn called Republic of Doyle, I think it's called. And it's endearing is how the reviewers describe it. But we watch it because it shows us Newfoundland. So imagine my surprise to go to the post office today and find a postcard of a historical event from Newfoundland. It was very cool. This represents a submerged house being towed by a schooner in November 1929, and I didn't know this. Now, we went to the historical museum there, of course, and I looked at their photo collection online and stuff like that. There was a tidal wave that hit Newfoundland's south coast. We did not go to the south coast. Do not be deceived when you look at a map at the size of Newfoundland. It's a whole lot bigger than you could ever imagine. There's a whole lot more to see. And I hope I get back there soon to do some exploring because I'd love to go. Everyone was very nice. This is a letter from Audrey, who said that my postcard post had her remembering the one she found in her grandmother's collection of photos, that she made copies of them to send, and they were always intriguing to her. And so she made me copies of them all. I have a whole pile of them. So a few of them have messages on the back. Dear sister, this is 1910. It's the name of a person and how old they are. So the postcard in my family collection is my grandmother, my maternal grandmother and grandfather in their wedding outfits, so that most people didn't actually mail these postcards. Here's one with a message on the back as well. 2 long years I've labored in this old building to gain a bit of knowledge which I stored away. So this is a school, a high school that they went to for 2 years. Isn't that cool? So she printed them front and back so they look like an actual postcard. You know, Carol, I did not get any holiday postcards. I do have a small collection of Halloween postcards that I've collected that I need to do something with. Audrey, I have yours. Those are the ones I just showed. They're so amazing. Here's a thresher. Aren't these great? Don't forget, if you're watching me on Instagram, you can ask me questions. Pretty sure I can see them. Oh, James Hansen. I'm calling you out. James Hansen found all these postcards that he obtained after his parents passed away, and he just couldn't throw them away. And they are from various places. So now I have to figure out what to do with them. It's kind of a stack of cards, and they're linen cards, and they're mostly of places in Dallas. So maybe I'll see if the Dallas Public Library collection wants them. Some other places in Texas. One of the things, when I used to work at a historical society, and here's Old Faithful in Yellowstone Park, which actually was on my travel list for 2020 as well, which didn't happen. What was I going to say? So the postcards weren't usually sent, and our ancestors could take their own postcards, so that I have shown in previous lives that I have a postcard camera that is the right size so that you would load it with film and then take it and be printed as postcards. But they're images that you took within the family, not that you went to a photo studio and had taken. Now, in my grandparents' case, they went to the studio in their outfits, and maybe they went to a local department store because that was popular as well. You can date a postcard by the stamp back if it's not mailed, the stamp, the postmark. One of my guests on the podcast was an expert in postmarks from all over the world. One guy has more than 1 million postcards in his collection. It's pretty amazing to me. I have a few hundred. All right, so let's see if we have questions. I don't have any questions, I don't think, hold on, I have to actually wave to all of these people. Hopefully they all were able to watch this Instagram without me waving at them. Maybe not. There we go. So it said joined. Hopefully on Instagram, even without waving, you've been able to see this. Let's see what I've got in Facebook and YouTube for questions. And I can share, let me share some of the ones that were emailed me because not everyone mailed me a postcard. So I'm going to do this on Facebook. Here we go. So unfortunately on Instagram, you can't see what I'm showing on Facebook. But Carol sent me a postcard that belonged to her family because it happened several years ago. Here's a great story. Carol went to an ephemera show, which is disposable paper things, and was looking at Nebraska postcards. And her great-grandfather lived there and died there in 1908. She found a real photo postcard, which is basically a photograph on a postcard, with a 1907 postmark of the small town he lived in. Since it's rare to find a card of that town, I bought it. The picture meant nothing to me as the names of the people receiving and sending the card weren't familiar with her. But then she realized that it contained her great-grandfather's last name of Mead. So he was mentioned in the card. And after researching the names on the card, and this is what you can do too. So after researching the names on the card, she discovered that the card actually shows her great-grandfather Charles Mead at a hotel he used to run, and it was sent by his son-in-law to a cousin. And she asked the question that we all ask for any of us that are collecting, which is, did I find the card or did it find me? Because we're just never sure what happens there. Somebody sent me some information. I'm going to send some of these cards to a young woman who is, this is a group that someone I know belongs to called Military Officer Spouses. And there's a kid who she's trying to teach her kids about every country in the world, and she's trying to get postcards from all over the world. So I don't know if I'm free to send that address to anyone or not. I will ask. One person sent me, and here's the thing, our postcards can also represent history, not just family history, but like that Newfoundland postcard, it can reflect a historical moment that we want to remember. In this case, somebody sent me a postcard from the AIDS Memorial Quilt Project, which, that was really sad. It is currently warehoused in San Francisco when not being displayed, and people are still adding quilt squares to the memorial quilts. But that's a postcard that was issued for that. In the Facebook group postcard album on my Facebook page, Photo Detective page, there's one that I think represents World War I quite nicely. It is actually, I did get one holiday card through email, and this is it. So it's a mom and two kids opening presents on the floor. There's a little Christmas tree on the table, and there is a framed picture of Dad in World War I, and this is Germany, so German uniform, which is pretty cool. These are ones that she found in her family collection. And then somebody sent me, and a copy of a photograph from Missoula, Montana, from when it was a small town. So that's all there too. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and you can look at those on my Facebook page. Let me go back up here and see what we have. Any questions? Terry Murray says, I love postcards. I was the letter writer in the family, and friends sent me postcards, so they collected them. So if you are watching this on Instagram, hop right in and tell me something about postcards. Caitlin cried at Shakespeare's grave. I'm not going to lie. I actually felt completely overwhelmed by emotion when I stepped into Shakespeare's house and saw that name in the guest register. Again, it was sort of like Carol saying, did it find me, or did I find it? It was very cool. Linda would love to know how to print old family photos to make a postcard. Yes, I will research that and tell you all about it. I'm assuming that the postcards are not archival quality. Right, exactly. They're not archival quality. Likely they are on some sort of acidic paper. Terry, what will I do with all these postcards? That is the question, Terry. For those of you that sent me unmailed postcards, just of random like artwork and things, I think I'm going to mail them off to various people I know, or maybe I'll send them to the Postcardist or one of the guests on the show. For the historical linen postcards, I am going to see if a historical society or library wants them. That's what I was thinking of earlier. As a former curator at a historical society, we had a postcard collection, but it was nowhere near as extensive as the one I have currently collected. So it could be that they don't have these postcards in the collection and would like them, because now it is sort of historic. Yeah, I mean, what do you do with those postcards? Will I display, archive, or store them? Not the ones that I've received. I don't think. I might put them in a folder of postcards for the blog. Customize a physical album. Sure, all of that is possible. In my grandmother's collection, she had a Washington's birthday postcard. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, there are postcards on every topic. There are even pandemic postcards. That's what the Postcardist told me. He had just received and collected a whole bunch of them that he had found on Etsy, which is the design site, crafting site where you can go on and buy things. I've bought things on Etsy. Anybody have any other questions for me? I think really, I love these themed months for the podcast, and I have a couple more planned for next year. Because you all love them so much. And I think it would be it's great fun to see what you have in your collection for these various types of pictures that we're focused on, and who's currently doing some of the alternative processes. So one, we know that postcards are still being made. They might be harder to get, but on Etsy, people are still designing very personalized individual postcards, which you can mail out. Maybe your ancestor had a postcard camera, which I could probably stand up if you want to see my messy office and show you. You want to see that postcard? You want to see the postcard camera? I do have shorts on though. That's all I'm going to say. So I apologize. Hold 1 second. Hold that thought. Here it is. I should have gotten it beforehand. This is a postcard camera. Don't you love it? I love it. It dates, it's a number 3A folding pocket Kodak. And the back of it is the size, the negative would be the size of postcard. So some of those postcards that you see, especially some of the ones submitted, where is it? Here it is. These ones submitted, like, lost them now. They're in here. They're in this pile somewhere. Somebody sent me a whole pile of historical postcards. Their family likely had one of these. They were not that expensive. It's I found this at a ephemera show and had to have it for my collection because I've never seen one before. It has the bellows. You can fold it up, close it up. So that's a postcard camera that your ancestors may have had to take their own postcard images and never send. All right. What do we have? Do postcards ever get damaged by postage stamps? I'm not sure what you mean by damaged, Caitlin. They do. They get damaged when they go through the post to get the postmark, for sure. That definitely marks the card. They're made to carry the stamps, even the old ones. I'm trying to find that 1931, 1935 card that I have in here. But once they go through the postal machine, they get sort of damaged. Find that one right now. But the glue is fine. The real photo postcards date from about 1900. If you listen to any of the podcasts, then you know that there were postcards, chromolithograph postcards before that. And one of my guests, I think it was Mark Ruth, who has a million cards in a storage locker in his house. He told me that postcards actually began around the time of the Civil War. And I didn't know that. They're sort of plain cards. There's nothing on there. They're just a card. Linda wants to know, what would I guess the paperweight is for the postcards you have? I'm thinking 110 paper. They're a little thinner than a cardstock. Here, I'll hold it up. See, they're a little thinner. They're not as thick as a carte de visite. Some of them are thinner than others. Russ says, I just made a postcard template in MS Word. It took a bit to get it lined up to correct print the front back. Well, maybe that's how Carol did it, to send me all those postcards. Russ, feel free to tell us how to do it in a post. I'd love to see it. We used an old postcard back that had limited printing on it. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, very cool camera. I've got a red bellows camera and need to look closer at mine. Yeah, you do, Chad, because this is a postcard camera. Look at the size of the back. That will tell you what it was used for. All right, how are we doing on Instagram? I've got some people that did not get waved at. Anyone have any other questions for me? Sue on Instagram says that she has a collection of World War I postcards with Scottish verses. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. We've got more people that have joined. Wave. This is your chance to ask me about postcards. And please, so here's the thing. Here are your action items. Follow me on social media. Sign up to be a subscriber to my YouTube channel, please. That would be great, so that you never miss any of the videos that I'm creating. Sign up, I said, for my newsletter. That's number one, because you don't know what you're going to miss. I have some ideas for some other things to put in the newsletter, so we'll see. In any case, if no one has any other questions for me, then I will sign off for today, and I'll see you next month. However, this space, this usual last week of the month, is for Q&A about any photo-related questions. Not photo identification so much, because I try to keep those separate, but if you have any kind of questions about photographs, preservation, sharing, organization, digital imaging, any of that, please let me know. Send them to me through social media, through the help desk on my website. However you want to get them to me, then I will answer your questions through the live. I see that Caitlin's been busy in the background putting some links in for you to use. Chad, you worked in a camera store for 36 years. That's great, and has enjoyed family history even longer. And thank you so much that you like to watch my shows. Thank you very much. I have some things on the docket for September. September's podcast is featured on orphan photos and orphan photo reunions. And do I have some good ones for you? I also have a class that I'm going to offer, a free class at the end of the month on photo identification. So if you're on my newsletter list, you'll be the first ones to find out about it. And I am going to limit the signups for this one. So get on that list. Oh, look at that. This is a cool one. But I am going to go back through more of my postcards because I really, really want to find one where they answer each other during the day. That would be so cool. Sue Kelly says her grandmother and her sister sent postcards to each other, no telephones. It's true. You could use them that way. Imagine getting morning mail, midday mail, afternoon mail, and evening mail. It's a concept. Something we can't quite imagine. All righty. Thank you so much for joining me on Instagram Live, Facebook, and YouTube. And this will be on my channel. And then if you miss it and you just want to listen to it, this gets turned into a podcast episode for the end of September. And I edit it up so it looks better. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.